Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into the thrilling and complex world of BlackBag, a 2025 spy thriller that masterfully blends suspense, drama, and psychological tension. Directed by the visionary Steven Soderbergh and featuring powerhouse performances from Michael Fassbender and Kate Blanchett, this film takes us on a riveting journey through the shadowy world of espionage, where nothing is ever what it seems. In Black Bag, we follow George Woodhouse, a highly skilled intelligence officer caught in a web of deception and danger, who faces an impossible choice between loyalty to his country and trust in his marriage. As George navigates a high-stakes mission filled with secrets, lies, and betrayal, the movie unravels the blurred lines between personal and professional, love and suspicion, truth and deception. The film's tightly woven plot explores not only thrilling spycraft and covert operations, but also the fragile human emotions that underpin them, making it a story that keeps you guessing until the very end. With its sharp dialogue, intense confrontations, and morally complex characters, Black Bag challenges viewers to question who can be trusted when the stakes are life and death. In this video, I'll walk you through the entire storyline, revealing every twist and turn and breaking down the key moments that define this gripping tale. Whether you're a fan of espionage thrillers or just love a well-crafted story full of suspense and emotional depth, this recap will bring you right into the heart of the action. So get comfortable, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's unravel the secrets hidden within the Black Bag. The film begins by introducing George, a man who travels a long distance to meet someone at a bar. This man assigns George a mission and urges him to complete it as soon as possible. George requests 2 weeks to accomplish the task, but the man warns him that many lives could be at risk by then. Ultimately, George negotiates for 1 week and returns home. At home, George prepares a delicious meal and spends time with his wife. They are expecting guests, and George is busy getting ready for their arrival. When all the guests have gathered, a dinner meeting takes place. However, tensions rise and 2 guests begin arguing. In a sudden outburst, a woman, angered by the conflict, slashes one man's hand with a knife. Following this violent incident, all the guests leave George's house. The scene then shifts to Philip, a man drinking alone. His wife calls him, but he tells her he will come shortly. Shortly after she leaves, Philip suffers a severe seizure. Hearing the commotion, his wife rushes back and is visibly distressed. The weekend ends, and the first working day begins. George's wife prepares to leave for her job. Before she leaves, George secretly slips a key into her bag. She heads off to work, and George arrives at his workplace soon after. Upon arrival, George first identifies himself. He learns that a colleague has passed away overnight due to a heart attack. Both George and his wife work at the same location, but in different departments. While George is at the office, his wife is attending a meeting. George calls his wife out of the meeting, which displeases their boss. The boss shoots George a cold, angry look. George then heads to the computer room, puts on gloves, powers on the computer, and begins collecting the information he needs. George's wife was experiencing night terrors, and she was taking medication to help manage them. She was consulting with a doctor who also asked her questions about her personal life. After a brief session, the doctor told her that they were done for the day. The next morning, George went fishing but didn't catch any fish. While he was out, a young man came to find him and revealed that George's wife was somehow connected to his mission. The man also mentioned that she had been taking some kind of drugs. This raised George's suspicions, and he began to keep a close watch on his wife. Later that evening, George prepared dinner for his wife. After they ate, she left again, her behavior seeming increasingly suspicious. After she left, George met with a female friend who was close to both him and his wife. When George confided in her about his doubts, she scolded him for mistrusting his wife, reminding him how much she loved him. She expressed regret over George's suspicion and warned him against letting doubt cloud his judgment. At that moment, George learned that his wife was on her way to the airport, departing for another country. He immediately started tracking her location, desperate to find out where she was going. However, she had already left the area George suspected. She was now sitting on a bench with a man named Andre. The woman who had provided George with this information was highly skilled. She had connected a device to the computer system that allowed George and herself to eavesdrop on conversations between George's wife and Andre. Suddenly, the entire system froze. The woman suspected that someone else was tracking their system as well, so she quickly shut everything down. Unbeknownst to George and the woman, someone else was monitoring their activities. Meanwhile, other members of George's wife's team frequently visited the doctor's office, where she was consulted. One of the officers received a call and left abruptly. Andre, the man with George's wife, became aware that they were being watched. Another meeting was scheduled, and this time George was included. The meeting concerned a secret mission that had been underway for 9 months. Though George was present, his mind seemed elsewhere. He looked troubled. Those around him noticed his unease. Their boss appeared furious and ordered everyone to leave. Once the room was empty except for George and 2 others, the boss angrily demanded they leave as well. George remained visibly worried. George's wife had returned, but one of her associates stopped her and asked why George was keeping an eye on her. She replied, "I can't say anything about that right now," and quietly lay down on the bed. Later, when George initiated a conversation, she tearfully confessed that everything she was doing was for him, that she would even risk her life for his sake. She insisted that all their actions were for their shared future. George acknowledged this but stressed the urgency of their situation, knowing it was Friday and time was running out. He headed to a store, retrieved a pistol from a locker, and placed it carefully inside a black box along with other items before leaving. Carrying a bag, George made his way to the river and got into a boat. He invited a young man to join him. They moved further into the river, where the young man began fishing. Meanwhile, George's wife went to get coffee. Before leaving, she slipped a note to a man sitting in the coffee shop. After she left, the man read the note and followed her outside. They sat together on a bench where she warned him, "You only have 3 hours. Do whatever you need to do quickly." With that, she stood up and walked away. Their boss arrived for a meal, and George's wife approached and sat beside him. When he asked what she wanted, she demanded that he stop the operation they were conducting against their country. The boss replied coldly, "Sorry, nothing can be done now. You're too late." Suddenly, a plane crashed, followed by a series of explosions in several vehicles. Meanwhile, at the office, George was conducting a tense interrogation, using a device that could detect lies whenever someone placed their hand on it. He began by asking personal questions and then, one by one, asked if anyone had previously visited his home or planted a graph in his wardrobe. Everyone denied it. Later, George invited all of them to his house. That night, all the suspects gathered at George's home, including his wife. Once everyone was assembled, George's wife announced that George would ask questions in turn, and anyone who lied would be punished. She placed a loaded pistol nearby for emphasis. The group protested angrily, with one woman attempting to leave, but she was stopped. George's wife then placed a file on the table, revealing that 2 of the people present had conspired to plant a bomb in a car, which destroyed an important device by melting it. Among the group was a woman who had been deceiving everyone and scheming alone to trap George and his wife. She wanted to ruin George's wife's reputation because she held many classified secrets vital to the country. One young man had tried to poison someone by lacing a glass with poison. When George confronted him with the truth, the man grabbed the pistol nearby and fired a shot. Fortunately, no one was hurt. At that moment, George's wife quickly reached into her bag. George quickly pulled out his pistol and neutralized the threat. One of the women was visibly shaken by the intense events. Afterward, George instructed everyone to leave. The final scene takes place on a Monday morning. George's wife arrives at the office facing a difficult choice: save her career or protect her marriage. Her colleagues had conspired against her, but with George's support, she cleverly managed to preserve both. This marks the conclusion of the film. That's a wrap on our deep dive into BlackBag, a movie that expertly blends suspense, emotional complexity, and thrilling espionage. If you love this video, don't forget to show your support by like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update or a fresh movie recap. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the stories that keep us hooked.